and welcome to another episode on the Animanga podcast. If you're like me and you enjoy reading webtoons, or you have just recently dived into that world and you feel like you could create a great webtoon but you just don't know how to do it, or you just wonder about the process on creating a story or how many hours go into creating an episode. Well, today I have the one and only Miranda, who is the creator of the series Muted. Her series is amazing. Her captivating and vibrant art style is what grabbed my attention and sucked me into this amazing story. But I also fell in love with the characters as they are so relatable. She joins me in today to talk about the series, her journey to creating her own stories, and she also explains the process of creating an episode along with the equipment that you might need. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Hi, Miranda.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into drawing?
Yeah. I was about to say my name is Miranda, but you know that part. I've been drawing basically, since forever, but it wasn't until like high school where I was like, yeah, I think I could actually like make something out of this. And so I went to school in Vancouver, Canada, at the school called Vancouver Film School for classical animation. And then, and the original plan was to, like work for a studio and like, the big dream of even working for Disney or something like that. But after school, that was back in 2011, I went into freelance where I actually did like some like kids books and some posters. There was a website that was called Elance. It doesn't exist anymore, but that I would get jobs from. And it was a sort of situation where I was like, I actually kind of like being able to just use my style. Like I liked that people were paying me for stuff that like I drew. Whereas like if you work for an animation studio, like that's great, but like you have to make it look like everyone's. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then with my wife, we did a couple of other comics, and then like work got in the way of that. And then when I found Webtoon, I'm like, oh, this is kind of a cool. I had never seen like vertical kind of comics before. Mm-hmm. And so right around when I found it, they were doing their contest thing. And so I entered that, and I didn't place, but it put enough eyes on my comic for them to be like, hey, you seem like you know what you're doing. Would you like the contract? And I was like, hell yeah. So kind of go for it from there.
Wow, that's fantastic. You've always been drawing since like you were a little kid, and you just pursued your passion.
Yeah.
For me personally, I love your art style and the colors. Like you've got some really vibrant and bold colors. I just love everything about it. Like I just read it all in one sitting, and I just like fell in love with the whole characters, and your art style is really, really amazing. I'm sure you hear that quite a lot, but honestly.
Well, it's still very sweet.
It's really, really awesome. But how long, like, could you talk us through the process of like creating a webtoon episode?
Yeah, for sure. For me, it varies from person to person depending on, the complexity. A lot of people I know, they have like a lot more assistance, but for me, it's like we'll say in the span of a week. So like on Monday, when I'm actually working and not like on hiatus where I can do kind of move that around a bit. But like usually it's like on Monday, I'll draw the very loose sketch and like the secondary sketch of an episode. Mm-hmm. And then on Tuesday and possibly Wednesday, I'll do the line art. And this is like a 40 plus panels. And with the line art, I'll also put all the word bubbles, because usually I'll do the words with the original sketch just to kind of like lay it out. Yeah. And then on Wednesday/Thursday, I'll send it to my friend Riley, who does like the flat color. So it's just like the very like base red, the base skin tone, like none of the shading, which saves me a lot of time. She's been working with me since the very beginning. She's a very good friend of mine. And then she sends it back to me. And then I add all the shading, and then I add all the backgrounds. and then all the little lighting effects, and then usually it's either Friday night or Saturday, then I'll finish it, and then start all over again on Monday.
Oh wow. So like it's like a whole week's process. How
Mhm.
many hours would you say you spend?
It sounds like a lot, but because I have this program called Rescue Time, which basically tells me how much time I'm spending doing nothing, like being on Twitter, or how much time, or how much time I'm actually working. Like it tells me how many hours I've been in Photoshop, and it always seems like a lot, but it's just because I get distracted easily, and so it's usually like 25, 30 hours for a whole chapter.
That does sound quite a lot.
Well, it's like it just seems to me. I guess it seems like only a little bit, just because I know so many others like have said it takes them like 60 hours. So
Yeah. Wow. So do you come up with the story like yourself?
mhm.
Like did you think about the story, how the middle, how it's gonna go, how the ending is gonna be, and then you just draw it all out?
Mhm. Yeah, I there's like some parts, like I have the big ideas fixed, and like there's some parts in the middle that kind of like I'll change like from week to week, like how exactly I like usually when I'm drawing they'll just kind of change themselves no matter how much I plan ahead of
Yeah.
time. And like the way the dialogue, because like the way I end up drawing it, changing the dialogue helps fit with the flow of it better. So like I don't write like strict scripts anymore. Like I used to write out the whole script, and then I realized how much I changed it. I'm like, I'm just wasting time. I'll just write
Yeah.
it as I draw it. And then and so then so those like little things change, but they're all leading in the same direction to the main goals that come at the end
Okay.
of the season.
So like what kind of equipment do you use?
I use well Photoshop, and then I have an Intuos 4 tablet, which is very old, so old that they don't even make them anymore.
Oh wow.
um, uh, they have it's like Intuos Pro now, I think, or whatever, but like this exact brand they don't actually have. So maybe one day I'll get an upgrade, but
Yeah. I have no idea what any of those are. I think we just tend to take things for granted because we just see the story. I personally just never really thought about the type of equipment that you'd use
hmm
because I just think, oh wow, they just probably just write a script and then just draw.
I'm glad that I don't have to, because like like I said, when I was in school doing classical animation, we drew everything on paper and then scanned it in. So I'm
Mhm.
really glad that I don't have to do any scanning, because it's just a lot of paper and just like a lot
Yeah,
of space that it like takes up, as opposed to like just being on the computer.
yeah,
Um, and like I still have like boxes full of old animation frames. But yeah, so like an Intuos tablet, what I have is like uh I basically draw with my hand while looking at the computer screen, whereas a lot of people use Cintiqs, where it's like they see the image where they're drawing, like as if you were drawing on paper.
okay,
And like so like for some people, drawing like on a tablet like I do, there's a disconnect, but for me it's harder to draw on a Cintiq, probably just
hmm,
because I don't have enough practice with it. But
yeah.
yeah, I like my little setup.
Maybe it works best for you, I suppose.
Yeah.
You also mentioned that you entered. Is it like a little competition? Did you say for Webtoon? Um,
Yeah, they had a whole contest where it's basically like at the end, you win money, obviously, which is always great. But uh yeah, that's how a lot of really amazing original webtoons came up. Like Haka, who did Cape of Spirits, she's the one that won. And then and now for some reason I can't remember literally any of the other ones that were in there.
mhm.
But a lot of people but a lot of people in that whole span of the competition, like even if they didn't place, like it was a really nice like way to get people interested. And I
Yeah,
think really made people understand how serious Webtoons was about like
yeah,
promoting artists, because I feel like before, like a lot of people didn't think that, you know, webcomics could be like a very, viable career option. Like
yeah.
I know a lot of people did webcomics like before, like I did too. I and stuff, but like I didn't think I could like make a living off of it. And
Mhm.
I feel like webtoons have made it really put what's a very big audience for people to access.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but but yeah, so it's like connected you to the audience, and
Yeah.
yeah, there's an audience who just comes to the app, and then we just try and pick and choose the story that we like, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and so far, I think it's a really good space.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's actually a good point as far as different styles is concerned. Because, like, for me, and possibly for others, I don't know, but like for me personally, when I saw my art style, like I liked what I did, but like I didn't think that like whenever applying for like animation studios or applying for like game studios, I felt like it wasn't enough to be like professional. But it's like
Mhm.
but I feel like Webtoon, the thing I like most about it is that like it really celebrates different art styles that aren't quote
Yeah,
unquote like standard, because there's
yeah,
just like so many different kinds of art styles that you can find on there with like really amazing stories that you wouldn't really be able to find as easily
yeah,
anywhere else.
yeah.
And I really like that about it.
Yeah, I love that too because like there's so many different art styles. Everything's so unique and so cool because it's like it's not all looking exactly the same. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the like for example your uniqueness shines through the story and then also your artwork, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
just amazing because compared to if I was to look at a normal comic book or something, you would find the art styles exactly the same and the stories are a little bit different. But
Mm-hmm.
webtoons, I think they're really cool because I think everybody's an individual style, individual stories, and yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
amazing.
I think so too.
Yeah. So, how did you feel when you saw your series being featured on Webtoon?
I felt yeah, I felt amazing. I because I did have another job before. And so when I was like working on before it like actually launched, I still had that job like part time because I told him I was like, hey, I got a contract to like work on this story. So I'm going to go down to part time. And he was like, okay. And then so I was just doing that. And I'm like, well, it'll probably, always kind of be just sort of a part time thing. But then once it launched, I was really astounded and really happy with what an amazing reception that I got from it. I wasn't expecting people to like it as much as they did.
Mm-hmm.
And like obviously I'm very glad that they did, but like I wasn't,
Yeah.
I wasn't drawing it like, yeah, people are gonna love this. I was just drawing it like, oh, I hope people like this. And so like when people actually like sincerely liked it, I was just like, I'm like, oh well, maybe I can quit my other job. And so it was like after like another month of after it had posted, I'm like, goodbye, I'm going to Webtoons full time
Oh,
now.
wow. Wow. So you never saw this as a career path, really, I guess.
hmm It was
Webtoon.
like not in the beginning. I like you'd always hope for it, but it's like you got to plan, you got to
Yeah.
hope for the best and plan for the worst, I guess, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so like I wanted it to do well, and so I was very 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 excited that it did. But I was, you know, I had my safety net, I suppose, for a
Yeah.
while.
Hmm. So what's one thing that people say that they love about your series?
I think one of the comments I see a lot that I really like is uh, I know it's very common for a lot of people to not like the main character because the main character you're supposed to be a little bit more of like a catch-all, and like for me like when I watch series, like it's usually like the side characters that I tend to like more than the main character.
Hmm.
And so I was very very happy with how relatable people found Camille and how much they really just like liked watching her and were rooting for her journey, and how many people resonated with the struggles that she went through. So I always really like reading those comments.
I felt like I could definitely relate to Camille. Like, how did you come up with this story? Like you make it so relatable. Like how did you come up with the story?
I had that kind of moment for a minute because like when it touches on the very particularly sensitive topics, I had
Hmm.
people in the comments just like, "Are you okay? Like, you clearly know what this is like. What, like, did you go through something like this?" And even like my mom was just
Yeah.
like, "Did someone?" She's like, "Did someone in the family like were you hurt? Did he not tell me about it? I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, there are, I've been through things or whatever, and like people I know that have been through things, and I'm not gonna really get into that so much, but it's just like when I write, I don't know, I try to draw from reality to a point where it seems where I can understand where she's coming from, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, not to get too personal or anything, but like but like there's an element of drawing from reality to a point where obviously I can't do magic, unfortunately. but like as far as the human aspect is concerned, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, because it is so relatable, and I thought like, oh gosh, like this girl, like how did she come up with this? Obviously, I mean, we're all human. We've all come across those type of situations in our own different ways. But I think it's just the way that we're all connected with Camille. It feels like, oh, I've been through something similar, but not exactly conjuring magic and stuff. But
Right.
I think most of your fan base, including myself, hate the aunt. Like,
Yes.
she's like the most toxic and hated person. And, I was just like, oh, we all know somebody like that,
Yeah.
whether it's like a family member. So would you say that, you've come across someone like that as well?
Well, like that's the other thing that's funny. It's in the comments, like too, there's the people who haven't come across someone like her. Like they understand that she's evil and they don't like her, but like they're just like, I don't understand how Athalie could do all this. Like I don't understand how she could do that to her daughter or do that to Camille or anything. And I'm always just sort of like, man, I know lots of people that are worse than she is. Like if you think she's bad, then like I'm glad. Like I'm obviously glad that they never had to experience something like that. Obviously, but at the same time, it's like, no, they're out there. Trust me. They're out there right now.
Yeah. A part of me can't help but think, she's not like that on purpose. Maybe something happened to her and she just became mean and horrible to Camille and her own daughter. So do we get like a little backstory to understand?
Well, it's like it will have. Well, I plan on having like some kind of backstories, but it's like you have to understand a large part of this is based, like Camille in particular is breaking free from tradition as far as like the family is set up. Like Athalie is like this because what she's doing she thinks is normal. Like this is the stuff, the way that her family has been for so long. And like so like acting like this and with the strict rigid rules is like she feels very much that she is in the right because this is how it's been the entire time and this is, the way it's always been. And like and so to her, Camille just seems like she's acting like a brat when it's like when in truth it's just like when in truth it's just the tradition and the rules that are outdated. And like Athalie just can't wrap her mind around changing.
It's really great. Like we all really can relate with Camille and the characters in the series. Like for example, we can connect especially with like the loss of family members, social anxiety, and just feeling not good enough. And I really love your story because it kind of makes people feel like that we're not alone. And I think you're basically touching quite a lot of people's hearts with this series because we definitely can all relate to Camille, everything that she's going through, loss of family, social anxiety. So honestly, this is awesome. Like,
oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm really glad that people relate to it. Even though I feel bad, I get messages. I feel bad that I don't have time to respond to them, but I do read them. I promise.
Yeah.
I do read them.
One of the things that I really love that you do is like how you showcase the theme of like mental abuse, like the controlling behavior of Evelyn and her mom. And like I think I've heard quite a few of my friends who read the same webtoon saying that like, they have come across incidences like that where mums are really controlling and they want you to act a certain way and behave a certain way. And I was thinking, like how Camille is really trying to break free. Is that like your theme?
Yeah, Camille. I almost said Emile. I don't know who that is, but Camille, kind of like breaking free and like accepting who she is and everything. Every part of her identity is a big part of the story. Like muted, obviously, as you see in episode 45, means also something else, but like has the secondary note of basically meaning like how for most of her life after her mom died, she was like more or less emotionally suppressed and like kept everything buried like deep and like muted and like very, very deep underneath everything. So this whole thing, especially like with Dendro and Nira's help, is breaking free and learning to accept and actually heal parts of herself as opposed to just like letting them fester.
Yeah, I love how like she uses plant magic. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but just like the roots sprouting out, and she's just like when she's just letting out her emotions, a real showing off breaking free, like spreading out your root, being free. The way season 1 ended, oh gosh, like what a great cliffhanger! It was just a great ending for season 1. Were you planning on making it end there, or?
I actually was planning on ending it quite a bit later, but like at that point I had basically been drawing for a year straight and I was like, I need a break. And like so it was kind of I knew this was like a crucial moment, and so I kind of moved some things around try and make it as like impactful as possible. And like I even talked to my editor because working with Webtoon on a contract, you get assigned an editor who helps like if you have questions. Okay. For the most part, she's incredible and she's amazing and she lets me basically do whatever I want. But like with this, I was just like, I want the season finale to like end here, and like I gave like my original idea, and she was just like, well, she's like, you're gonna be on a break for like however many months after this. She's like, you need to like go big. You need to make like, you need to do something world shattering. And I was just like, oh, okay. And so like, I went back and thought about it for a little bit and I'm like, well, what about this? And she's like, yes, do that. And I was like, all right. And so, actually the finale, of season 2 is going to be what was originally going to be the end of season 1, because I realized I'm like, this is going to take longer than I thought. So, because like when I first started, I thought it was just going to be like 2 seasons, but now I was like, 3 seasons I think will work better. So if you thought the season 1 finale was dramatic, just wait. Season 2 is going to be even more intense.
I can't wait. Like, well, can't wait for season 2. So you are definitely coming back for season 2.
Oh yes, I was talking to my editor briefly about it before, and we're thinking either late March or like April, hopefully, unless some other kind of scheduling things come up. But like that's the tentative area is like springtime.
Okay. So apart from Muted, do you have any other projects that you're working on that are already on Webtoon or?
Yes, I do. I work on another comic with my wife that is called Lovebot, and it's a sci-fi.
Oh, wow. I'll have to check that out. How do you manage the time between Lovebot and Muted?
Well, with Lovebot, most of it is like we wrote it together and I do like the layout sketch, but she does most of the work, which looks incredible. And so it doesn't like, as far as time is being divided, it works out really well because I really love the characters and she does really amazing artwork on it. So yeah, if you check it out, let me know if you like it.
Oh, wow. So how is it working with like your wife and stuff? Is it fun?
It's good. No, it's super good because we've actually known each other since 8th grade, and and so we grew up writing stories together. So the way that we write and the way we create is very cohesive.
Yeah.
and just blends easily together very naturally, I like to think.
Aw. It
Yeah.
must be great, yeah, to work with someone who knows you. You got your own personal support system
Yeah.
right next to you.
Yeah. And she is. She's over on the couch looking at her computer. Hello. She made a face at me.
What kind of advice would you give to someone who is wanting to start doing Webtoon series?
My advice, I have lots of little bits of advice. I'm trying to figure out the best ones. I think, like, from a story perspective, like, you have to understand like how long it's going to take. So like you have to really be sure that it's something you want to do. And like but also don't be afraid to change things, cuz like, you know, like you don't have to plan out everything. Like, it's good to have story beats, but you don't have to plan out everything 100% before you start, and you don't have to be perfect or great at art before you start, because doing it, the act of actually going in there and like doing it and constantly drawing and making things, like, you'll improve exponentially as you go on, and you'll think of better and cooler ideas as you go. And so like you shouldn't like put yourself in a box of like having to be at a certain level or at a certain point before you like do it. But so that would be my advice, followed by before you start posting for your own sake, I would suggest making at least a handful of episodes so that you understand how long it takes you. And then also, and so then you have some in the wings just in case you can't update, just so you can keep posting consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so then once you post, like if you're like, oh, I can't finish this week, then you can take a break, but still be able to update.
Yeah.
And then, and so, yeah, so get in there and draw, but don't post it right away. Post, draw a bunch of them, and then get in there.
Yeah. So I need to at least know how to draw.
No, you don't even know. Once you start drawing, you'll learn how to draw.
Oh, gosh. No, art is not my. Would you say you mentioned that you get a contract with Webtoon? Should you really be pushing to get a contract, or
No, Canvas is a really incredible platform all on its own. Like, you can get ad revenue. Like, if you think like, you know, YouTube, when you post on YouTube, you can get ad revenue. It's like that, but for your comic, obviously. And then and so like I think that's a really nice program, and like they have a lot of incentives and they're really growing. And it's like and then also like with being on Canvas, you have the freedom of being able to do like, you know, like other things in between. It's like when you have a contract, like, you know, it's basically, you know, your full-time job. Like, I know some people still go to school or still have another job they're doing too, but like it takes a lot of work. And so like you have to really be ready to be in there and doing that. So it's like, so I guess it depends on your level of experience. Cause like for me, when I started drawing Muted just now, not just now, but like within the last couple of years, what was I gonna say? Oh, like I had basically been working in art for like 10 years. And like obviously you could do it earlier, but it's just like, you know, give yourself time to learn and grow, and like don't get discouraged if the very first project you put out ends up not getting picked up, because, you know, you're gonna change, you're gonna evolve. Like, if I had started a comic with where I was when I first started, I probably wouldn't have liked it very much. But you get in there, you learn.
Yeah. So what was your first comic like?
My first comic, our first comic, it was another one that I did with my wife. It was called Siren, and I think she's planning on revamping it, but we did it, and it was about mermaids. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on, but mermaids were involved. I do like that one. I remember it very, very fondly, but
Oh,
There's a lot of stuff art style wise and like story pacing wise that you learn when you're doing that first one that I've grown to learn now.
yeah. Yeah. So you basically in the first one and then you evolve as you grow and develop your art style, you said?
Yeah. Yeah. And like that's not always the case because I do know a couple people like the very first comic, like they're already amazing and that's great. But my point is like don't be discouraged if
Yeah. If it's
you don't.
not, the first one
Yeah.
is not picked up. Yeah. I think it's great advice, like you said, that don't get discouraged if the first time doesn't work out. Because I'm sure there's quite a lot of people
Yeah.
are going to think, oh, it's going to be awesome. Everyone's going to love it. And then, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In this world with social media, it's hard to not compare yourself to what
Mhm.
other people are doing, but like you kind of got to take a step back, like doing something just for the sake of the numbers or the money or whatever is only going to like get you so far. It's like obviously the contract like helps, but like I did it because I do really like you have to really like what you're doing
Yeah.
for like to be able to commit to doing a comic for so long.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's really great advice. Tell us 5 things about yourself that people don't know.
Oh, what do people don't know? I feel like I tell everything about myself on the internet all the time. But let's see. We have 6 cats and we have 2 dogs, a German Shepherd and a Great Pyrenees.
Oh,
Um, there's a lot of animals in our house. I was born in Montana. I've realized that you're from the UK, so that doesn't really mean
yeah.
anything to
Yeah, okay.
you. That good for you, yeah. um. Oh, I have to think of 3 whole more facts.
Or you can say 3 more about the series that.
Oh, there you go.
Mhm.
Or can I?
Yeah, you can. The things you don't know about the
If I could
series.
think of right, yeah. Do. Oh, uh, the world that Dendro is from is the same world, Treya, that Siren was based in. So the first webcomic, that's a world that my wife and I have like built, and it's like a really big, complicated world. So she's from the same world as that, and so when we get into more comics, you'll hear more about it. But so that's that whole same pool. I guess. I this isn't about the comic. This is about me in general. I have because some people don't know. I think everyone always knows, but people are always surprised when I say that I also have a YouTube channel where I did a bunch of animatics and stuff.
Oh.
And so a lot of people are just like, wait, you're the same person who did those Heather's animatics. And I'm like,
Mm.
yes, that's me.
Oh, wow.
And so I do stuff on YouTube and unfortunately don't get to update as much as I normally do, but I
Mhm.
tried to do more this year. And oh, I need one more. The the character design for Camille's grandmother is loosely based off of my aunt Carol.
Oh.
Because I was just like, I need to draw like a nice old lady because I don't draw like a lot of old people. I'm like, I need to draw like just a nice, friendly looking old lady. And I was just like, my aunt, I'm like, my aunt Carol, this is perfect. I'll just draw her.
Wow. Oh, that's really sweet. Does she know that she's in a comic?
I know, so I didn't tell her.
But no, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And where can people find you? Social
Uh,
media.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. And they can find me on Instagram. It's just Miranda Munt, all one word. And then on Twitter, it's Munt_Miranda because I messed up and made a Twitter account years ago that I can't get back into. So Miranda Munt on Twitter, I can't have access to. I've tried to get into it, but they won't give it to me. So I just do
God.
_Miranda.
Oh dear.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, thank you very much for this, Miranda. It was really awesome getting to know more about the series Muted, and we can't wait for season 2. So enjoy your time off and come back soon.
All right, I will, I promise. Thank you.
So that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Animanga podcast. If you enjoyed this, please show your support by subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review. You can always catch me on Instagram where I share more content. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!